Hello, this is Janaki Chichivisa with RideApart, and today is a big day, a very exciting day. I am going to be riding an R1300 GS, which is nuts. Like, I never imagined that I would actually be riding one of these bikes. For those who are unfamiliar with me, I'm about 5'3", and not only am I 5'3", but I have really short legs. Like, I have a 27-inch inseam, you guys. So anyway, the lovely folks at BMW's US Riders Academy thought that the R1300 GS with a low seat, this is the option 719 Tramontana, they thought that this would be a good idea for me to take the adventure riders course, and they were right. Like, this bike is actually great for me, which is surprising. I never in a million years would have expected that, but I listened to them and I mostly had a pretty good time. It's intense. It's they offer different types of riding courses, and I probably should have gone with the one day, because I don't even want to tell you how many times I fell. To be fair, everybody falls. Like, everybody fell. Everybody was falling over all day long. Probably not as much as I did, but the other people in the class were also falling, so it's totally normal. The R1300 GS crashes really well off-road, especially the way they have it set up. You might notice, looking at this footage, that there is no windscreen and there are no mirrors, and that is by design. That's something that the school does on purpose, because those things would just break with the amount of times that people drop them when they're learning to ride off-road. But they have really good crash protection on the cylinders, and they also have hand guards, of course. They've switched out the pegs and the rear brake pedal, there we go, and the shift lever, so that they're all the enduro versions, which are much more robust and much better suited to what we are doing. And, like, it all worked out really, really well. Like, this bike has no problems going down off-road, and even though it is heavy, it is easier to pick up, significantly easier than the F800 GS, which I had not expected going into this, because that is a lighter weight bike. But the way that bike lands, if it gets dropped, because some of my classmates were on F800s, that bike, when it goes down, basically the wheels end up in the air, and so you have to get those wheels back down on the ground before you can pick it back up again. Whereas with this, it just kind of lays there on its side. I'll show you in a minute. I have some pictures, because I did drop mine a few times, and more than a few times. And I generally laughed pretty much every single time. The only time that I crashed and wasn't laughing was actually on a G310 GS, which, honestly, that came the closest to actually injuring me in a way that would be more than just bruises. So, that's something to keep in mind. Even though that bike is significantly lighter, that bike is also really twitchy. Like, the clutch is really twitchy. I've ridden the G310R on the street before, and it was fine on the street. It was well-mannered on the street, but the twitchiness and the snatchiness of that clutch when you're trying to ride off-road is, like, not what you want. Whereas this bike, it's really cool because it's so well-mannered. Like, I genuinely did not know or expect that it would just be as well-mannered as it is. Like, it was very intimidating for me, and it's still intimidating in a way, because, again, it's a behemoth. It's absolutely massive. But I grew to really respect it over the course of this day of riding, because it really held its own. And, like, the way it balances its weight, like, it is over 500 pounds. Like, I would have to look to see exactly what the weight of this bike is, because I don't remember it off the top of my head. But it handles its weight so well. And the thing is, like, that's the really important thing about any bike that you're going to ride, particularly if you're going to ride it at really low speeds like we're riding here. It needs to be able to balance, and this thing can absolutely do that. Like, I'm standing up, and even though I am nervous, like, you can't maybe see it, but I will tell you I was nervous, because I was just like, okay, don't upset the bike, don't upset the bike. The slower you are going, the more important it is to make sure all your inputs are smooth and that you are moving in a smooth and controlled fashion. Like, it's kind of mesmerizing and almost hypnotic to be riding this slow. And I was definitely feeling that while I was, like, following my classmates around when we were doing this little enduro loop. I'm not showing you in this video how many times I fell before we got to this point, but please just take my word for it that it was a lot. And, like, I am genuinely thrilled, and also just, I have a hard time believing that I actually was able to do this. Like, this isn't hardcore stuff. Like, I'm not riding in Nepal or anything, but this is definitely way more than I ever did or ever really thought I would do before. I don't know if this is something that I would do on a regular basis, but this was just, like, so way far outside my comfort zone. And thanks to the help of the instructors at the BMW US Riders Academy, like, and thanks to the capability of this bike that they let students use, like, it was genuinely, it opened up, like, kind of a whole new world for me. So, definitely not without some bruises and some aches and pains. One thing I will say is that my time in the gym definitely helped as far as standing up on the pegs, but it definitely did not help in terms of me not being a big doofus and, like, falling down a whole lot. So, I learned over the course of the day to get a bit better at how to control things. When you are a very short rider, you definitely need to spend more time calculating exactly when and where you are going to put a foot down. And one thing that I definitely took away from this course is that it is much better to get one foot solidly down, like, slide your butt down and get down on one foot, than it is to try to tippy-toe, especially in an off-road situation, because, like, the ground may be uneven and you might have one side or the other that's going to be a better place to put your foot so that you and the bike don't fall over when you have to come to a stop. But as long as you plan things in advance, like, I need to definitely get better at planning things in advance, but as long as you plan things in advance, it really is impressive what you can do. And it's also impressive how this type of riding kind of changes your brain, because, like, you are slowing down so much. Like, you can see I am mostly in these off-road portions going at single-digit speeds, and, like, the bike is perfectly stable, perfectly calm, perfectly planted, and at the same time, you're constantly running these mental calculations, and you are figuring out, like, okay, do I go this way or that way? Do I want to avoid that twig? Do I want to avoid that rock? Do I want to avoid that rut? Do I want to go over some washboards or not? Oh shoot, the person ahead of me is stopping. I better plan to stop. Which side am I going to put my foot down on? Okay. There definitely was more than one time earlier in the day before I was recording this video where I didn't make those decisions quickly enough, and so that's why I fell over. And over the course of the day, like, I learned better how to control that, and thanks to the grace of everybody involved and this bike, I was able to make mistakes, and then I was able to recover from them and go on. And I think that's really important, and that's one of the many, many things that's really cool about the BMW US Riders Academy, is that like, it gives you a safe place and bikes so that you can learn and grow, and you can make those mistakes in a relatively safe environment. I mean, is anything in life really safe? But, you know, a relatively safe environment. And, like, they have, you know, if you did have any kind of issue, like, the medical help would be there very quickly. So it's a controlled environment, we'll say. Maybe safe isn't the right word exactly, but relatively safe. And this particularly was a women's course, so like everybody else in my class were women, which was really nice, because it's just like a different environment. It's like a different vibe. Like, if you are a woman and you've taken any classes with other women, like, you know, it's just a different vibe, and it's nice. And sometimes that's what you need if you want to do your best at learning. And the instructors are all women too. A couple of them have been riding motocross since they were kids, and like, they had a lot of really good, useful things to teach us, and everybody was just really cool and supportive, and like, everybody wanted everybody else to succeed, and it was just a really nice environment. Like, highly recommended, especially if you're a woman and you take one of the women's courses. Like, can't recommend it enough. Just make absolutely sure that you have a good idea of what you're hoping to get out of it, and also, like, you can be honest with yourself about what your situation is like before you go into it, because there are 1, 2, and 3 day courses available, and it's intense. Like, it is super intense. You can absolutely learn a whole lot out of a 3 day course, but if you're not in a situation where you can take in everything that it has to teach you, like, maybe it might be too much, maybe it might be overwhelming, maybe you'll be better off with the 1 day course at first, which I think I might have been, because like, this was so much for me, because like, I didn't grow up riding any kind of off-road or dirt, and for a long time I built it up in my head to be much more intimidating than it is. If you have the skills being instilled into you, and you have a machine that is capable of, like, you'll see toward the end of this video, I'm riding that 310 GS, and you'll see me crash, and you'll see the crash that actually like hurt the most out of the whole day. That's the one crash I am including in this video. And that was because that bike literally, like, I landed hard on my left hip, and like, it still hurts. I still have some bruises on my elbows from the times I fell on the R1300, but like, they're not really bad, and they're actually already fading, even though I fell multiple times. But the left hip hit on the G310 GS was really hard, and like, that honestly hurt me the most, even though I only did that once. And the bike also landed on my left ankle, and if I hadn't had really good boots, shout out to those Revit Discovery GTX boots yet again, because like, they seriously have saved me more times than I can count now. But it's a little tender. Like, it's fine, it's not swollen, it's not sprained. I have sprained that ankle before, and I think that's really, I just kind of aggravated it. But the G310 GS, falling on that honestly came the closest to seriously injuring me that any of my falls did all day. Like, the R1300 was absolutely not a danger. So if you, like me, are intimidated by it and think, oh hey, this is a freaking massive beast, particularly if you're a real shorty like me with really short legs, I'm here to tell you that if you face your fear and you throw a leg over this bike, ideally in a controlled environment like this, you might have a surprisingly good experience. Now, here we are on the G310 GS, and as you can see, and you can probably hear, like, it is definitely not as nicely like, it is a rougher thing to ride. And yet, because of the skills that I'd been building all day, like, I'm still doing okay riding it. Like, it's definitely a little more alarming to ride, because that clutch is very, like, the friction zone is super snatchy, and maybe it was specifically this bike, I'm not sure. But it's definitely a lot snatchier and a lot less smooth than the R1300 GS. But at the same time, because I'd been building those skills all day, like, I'm doing all right. The only time I have a problem is actually when I come to a stop, and that's mainly because, well, this isn't as well composed, and also I didn't completely have a strategy figured out for how to slide myself down and put a leg down when I needed to when I came to a stop, because this is actually a little bit taller in the saddle than the R1300 GS with the low seat. So it was actually more difficult for little shorty me to get a leg down on the ground in time. So that's really part of the problem, and you'll see. Here we go. Woo! There we go. Yeah, and you can see my foot's like under the thing, and woo! Yeah, that wasn't the best time. Do not advise. So anyway, yeah. Awesome school, definitely worth your time and your money.
I think I'm gonna stop.